All right. Apologize for everyone having to watch me blow my nose. Apparently, I don't really understand how YouTube's live streaming works. Anyways, yeah, so I'm basically just going to be sharing well, first off, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. I'm just going to be doing an impromptu live streaming session, and I'm going to be working on the program that I've been working. Okay, now I don't know if YouTube captured that or not. Whatever. So yeah, I'm just going to be working on the app that I've been working on. Of course, this is part of a series, and I'll just spend a couple minutes talking about some changes that I made in my approach and some roadblocks and stuff like that. Also, I do apologize. I have a bit of nasal congestion going on because where I live, which is in British Columbia, the south coast of British Columbia in Canada, the whole area is blanketed in smoke from forest fires, and it's really kind of irritating my nasal passages. So I apologize about that, but hey, we'll just have to deal with it. So, just for the people who have been following along, I'll give some updates on what's going on. Looks like everything is good with the stream. That's awesome. And what's up, Ravi? So, a couple things. Let's just go back to. We'll start with the user interface. I'll just give it like a brief introduction and recap. We'll go to some kind of list item. So basically, to leave off where we were before, I did a bit of work off camera. We were working on basically building a recycler view, and this recycler view is capable of having basically different kinds of list items. So I'm building a task application that looks like it'll need to get fixed. A day planner application, essentially. And in any given hour of the day, the user can have up to 4 different 15-minute tasks. Obviously, this is just like test data, so it just says break, 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 break. But this is the primary goal. Now, there was an interesting problem I had to deal with. So these two, list items, I want you to note that they have, first we have details to do with time, and then we have details to do with like Android resources. So these different task items will have a task name, and they'll also have a task icon. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my seat here. So in order to actually, those two things come from different data sources, different storage mechanisms. So what I need to be able to do is I needed to be able to basically combine the data from the two different data sources. I'll see if I can just pull them up here. Of course, it's got me on that stupid Android package explorer thing. Let's go to that. Okay, so in our persistence package, we have day storage implementation. So that thing stores these day objects. A day consists of an hour mode, so that would be either military or 12-hour, or whatever you call the 12-hour one. And then it contains a collection of 24-hour objects. And each hour object contains a collection of 4 quarter-hour objects, etc., etc. And then we have a different data source for a tasks object, which is a finite set of tasks, of course. For the beta release, I will restrict the number of tasks that the user can have, I think to something like 7 or 10. And this is what a task object looks like. So the important thing is day storage holds the day and hour and quarter hour data, and then task storage holds the tasks themselves. I do have the quarter hours holding on to a particular task ID, and the idea there is that when we need to draw the user interface, we'll pull up fragment day view. We're going to have this. That's not fragment day view. That was weird. We're going to have. This looks really ugly as hell here, but we're going to have something kind of like this, except these should be different. Obviously it would say 1 to 3 p.m., etc. So I had a bit of a problem because the task objects, they hold on to an enum which represents their color. They hold on also to an enum which represents a finite set of icon resources that the user will be able to use, and of course a task name, which is less relevant. What is important, and the challenge of today effectively, is that these things need to be, I'll just say, translated into resource IDs. So I'll pull up icon, for example. So in icon.java, it's just an enum. Enums are fine, people. You can use them. Despite what other Stack Overflow articles have told you, you can use enums. So for example, for the this is supposed to be a coffee break icon. So I need to map this break enum element. When I'm drawing the user interface, this is the data. I need to map that to some kind of icon. And because of the way Android works, I need to basically convert from this icon thing into a resource ID. Resource IDs are not fixed. They're dynamically generated. They're integers that are dynamically generated. So the thing about doing that is that you can do that pretty easily within a fragment or an activity. And I don't like to have complicated logic in my fragments or activities. That's just not the way I like to use them. So apart from really needing a haircut right now, what I decided to do is I decided to create a special static class. And this static class, let me just close these up here. I think I just closed it by accident. List. I actually did two things. So I created a UI model, a UI data model. I would actually like to call this thing a view model, but that would confuse all of you. The term view model, as they use it in model view model architecture, I've been saying this for years. It's a stupid, misleading name because it's something called a view model and you put logic in it. That's just stupid, but whatever. I won't harp on that point. I have this thing that I call day list item view. And this thing is what will eventually contain the resource IDs. See, I have this integer resource thing here. What I'll do is I will basically download the I shouldn't say download. I will load the data from the task storage, which will be obviously this tasks object, and then I'll load the data from the day storage, which will be this day object. And this daylist item view maker will take these things in. So here we have a day and we have a task. And it'll spit out a list of daylist item views, which are these things here. So these will be the actual view models, or sorry, whatever, user interface data models. This just gets so silly. This will, this thing is what the front end will actually be given. So basically what I'm trying to say here is I have a situation where I can't really have my logic class build these things because I don't want my logic class to be tightly coupled to Android. Um, and it's tightly coupled to Android for the reason that we need at least a context object in order to actually generate these resource IDs. So I could, like I said before, I could then have this logic in the fragment or an activity, but I don't like that either because fragments and activities, they're difficult to test. Yeah, you must use Roboelectric or Espresso or whatever, unless you want to do everything manually, which is stupid. So instead of doing that, I'm going to pick the third option, which is to create this utility class. I've already been working on it, which I just call it DayListItemViewMaker. It contains a primary static function, or method I should say, getItemList. So we give it a context object, we give it a day object, and we give it a tasks object. And then it creates a new list of these things. And then for every day in, so every hour within my day object, which will be 24, of course, we create a new DayListItemView object. And then what we do is we add that to our list, and this is the list that will eventually get passed into the adapter. I forget what I called my adapter. Let's just try adapter. There we go, day adapter. Yeah, so like I say, this is what will actually get passed in. Also, a brief note for consistency's sake. In the previous video, I was using the list adapter, which is like a subclass of RecyclerView.adapter. Really, the primary difference there is that a list adapter uses a diff util, which is basically an easier way of calculating changes to a recycler view. This recycler view is not going to change. The actual parts of the application where the user will be affecting or changing the data that will be displayed in the recycler view, those are totally separate features. So in other words, I don't need a diff util, at least for the beta release. So I switched to just using the plain old recycler view, and then you see this class holds on to our list of daylist item views. We've got a callback. Some of you might be wondering, you might have seen me use live data to call back to the view in this case. I'm actually doing something different in this application. I'm using almost zero third-party libraries. So you can see here, this is just to allow me to use Java 8 features and above. I do have some UI libraries, so I do have constraint layout. I've got material and app compat. One of those contains RecyclerView. But as you can see here, these are all the dependencies I've been using in this application. You might be wondering, how am I going to be doing concurrency? Well, I'm actually going to be using the Java executors framework, and I think I've already set part of that up. Excuse me. Yep, so it'll be a combination of Java executors, and then I also have these continuations here, which is my own custom implementation. I could just show you that really quickly. A continuation, it's basically what we're doing is we're passing in a continuation object, and then the whatever, so this backend thing will call back to the continuation on success or on exception. And then in the actual classes that will be using this continuation object, I'll just show you really quickly. They will be using this Java executors framework somewhere. Here we go. So we call, like, for example, daystorage.updateHour. We give it the appropriate thing and blah, blah, blah. I feel like I have a repository implementation that actually has the executor stuff. But anyways, I might have to build that later, and that's not really what I'm talking about today. Okay, and what's up, Eduardo? Okay, so what I'm working on now is two things. I had this. Let's go to another one of my wonderful enums. So we have these. Where did I even define this? Icon, hour mode. Somewhere in here is another enum. Oh, here it is. List item type. I guess I put it here because it's a feature specific enum, so I didn't put it in the layered architecture. So we have these different things. So we've got a full hour, half and half, quarter, blah blah blah. I realized yesterday that there's actually another kind of view that I have to be able to render, and that one looks like. Um, I think to be consistent, I'm actually going to put it here, and we're going to call this one quarter third. Because I realized I can actually have the first hour, so the first quarter hour will be some particular task, and then the next 3/4 of an hour will be some other task, and I want to allow the user to be able to do that. So the first thing I got to do is I got to add that in, so I need to actually build that layout. So let's build that layout. So I'll go to layout, and I'm going to copy one of these and paste it. We're going to call this quarter 3/4, just to make things extra confusing. I'm going to have to delete, let's delete the middle one. What the hell just happened? How is it that me clicking and scrolling with my mouse wheel just opened up values.xml? That is bizarre. What the hell, Android Studio? I hate it when things like that happen. Okay. I guess if I mouse click, does it? Oh, I guess I accidentally clicked the mouse wheel. Huh, I didn't actually know that before. If you mouse wheel click on a resource, it will take you to that file. The more you know. All right. I'm just gonna call you Axu. Asks, is your continuation implementation public? I don't remember if I made it package private. Yeah, it's public. All right. Okay, so I've deleted the middle item because we only actually need 2 items, and then I need to call this one. Let's go to the. Yeah, this is the one. So we're gonna call this one div second. There's kind of a naming convention here in case you're wondering what this is. Second 3/4. So second refers to it's the second task out of the 2 tasks that are visible, in case you're wondering. Eduardo asks, how do I plan to deal with configuration changes? For the this particular feature of the application, I'm actually going to restrict the orientation. It's not going to change. I might decide later to implement it with a better way of handling the orientation changes. But for just beta releases of applications, I typically do just restrict it to portrait, or whatever is appropriate for the application. I used to always try and handle orientation changes, but at the end of the day, this particular application makes the most sense to use in portrait mode. Like, you shouldn't be fiddling around with your to-do list while you're driving a car or something. So Yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so next what we're going to do, so I renamed this. The top will be to the bottom of div first quarter. And the rest should be fine. Then we need to bind the, or I should say, constrain the first quarter to, this will be to the top of div second 3/4. This one will be 22. We'll see if that's working. Okay, that's basically what I want there. I'll make some final adjustments later on. There's still some little UI tweaks with margins and stuff that I want to change, but that's really all I wanted to do there, is just create that thing. I'll have to add that to the other parts of the application, so let's go into our adapter. So I learned this last live stream. Basically, the way that you select for different layouts in your recycler view is you override this get item view type, and you use this position thing to define a set of views that you want to select from. And then we can also use this position thing to actually, because the day list item view actually contains this enum, I can, in the on create view holder, sorry, it's early in the morning, so my speaking isn't very fluid. I can select using that position for the appropriate type of view to inflate. I hope that makes sense. And we can also use that selection here as well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, in this area. And this is where the actual view bind that was a good voice crack. This is where the actual view binding takes place. All right. So I'm just going to add that to these different things. And, you know, big point here, I made the decision to not go the route of generating custom dynamic views, or layouts, I should say. Instead, I made a layout for every possible thing that I would want. Excuse me. And I went about it that way. The result of that approach is that the logic is simpler, but I end up having to have these enums all over the place. And you know what? In retrospect, I probably should have just tried to dynamically generate these individual things instead. And that probably overall would have been a better idea. But at this point, this approach will work. And it, you know, you live and you learn. All right, what's up, Majid? Let's see here. Okay, so the first one we're going to add is here. I'm going to, I think, to make this easier on myself, I'll make it the sixth case. So this will be quarter, the one I just made. Where's the quarter third? That doesn't make sense. Okay, I don't know why I decided to call it something that obscure. Quarter, 3/4. Let's call it that, because quarter third doesn't really make a lot of sense. This is what happens when you code early with an insufficient serum blood content of caffeine. Okay, so hopping to the adapter, that looks better. And this will be represented by a 6. I'll have to add that in elsewhere. In case 6 here. As you can see, this is the result of not using a dynamic approach. A lot more boilerplate code. And then we inflate the appropriate layout. So that's quarter, 3/4. Okay, that's good. And then this is where things will get slightly more complicated. So we need to, I'm going to steal this one, case half and half. So again, we're using these enums to great effect. This will be that thing I just thought, quarter, three-quarter. And we got, so this will be, okay, so this is an interesting thing. In the previous live stream, I thought I had to make a view holder for every single layout. I found a way to slightly reduce the number of view holders. So I've got a single task view holder, I've got a 2-task view holder, which I will use that one, and then I've got a 3-task view holder, and then there's even the 4. I can use the 2-task view holder, and the reason why that makes sense is because both the half and half layout and the 3/4 layout, they only have 2 tasks. So I can reuse the same layout IDs, and the end result of that is just that I can use this particular view holder is what I'm trying to really get at here. So I'm going to do that. And because I copied from the 2-task view holder this half and half thing here, this should be pretty much ready to go, actually. Now it's saying this is already defined in this scope, and that's slightly confusing. Let me just add, these should have break statements. That's slightly confusing because it'll never reach. These things will never conflict with each other, but okay, whatever. It wants me to change that for some reason. I don't. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Whatever. There we go. All right. Now it's oh, you know what? Here's a smarter way of doing this. Let's just go up here, and I think I can make an OR statement. Using an OR statement would be smarter, and here people are messaging me. Okay. I can just do that, right? Or 3/4. Why is it complaining? Good old Java. What if I put it in brackets? No? Well, whatever. That's annoying. I really thought that would be... Okay, there's got to be some way to... Java can't be that terrible. I mean, Java sucks, but it can't be that terrible. Switch case Boolean. Can I seriously not do that? I'm just going to look this up now. Wow. Okay, it looks like you can't use conditional logic in a case of a switch statement if this is correct. I sure hope there's some kind of reason under the hood that that's not allowed. Wow. Okay, whatever. Whatever, man. Let's just have some... Is anyone in the comments? Oh, I think I know what it is. It's because oops, I'm selecting for, if I put the, I think I know what it is. I think if I put the or statement in there, it'll evaluate to a true or false statement when it's trying to select for an enum. So I guess that kind of makes sense. Whatever, not a big deal. Um, Duplicate branch in switch. Uh, I think it's referring to the, whatever, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the ID, the lint warnings are not helping me this morning. All right, well, I'm pretty sure this works. I'm just going to double check the resource IDs, um, that they match properly, and then we'll move on. So these are my resource IDs, so I'll just double check. I think they aren't correct, so I think I've got to fix them. This one should be correct. First task background, that's correct. These down here need to be second task. I'll just copy that in. Or whatever, let's just type it by hand. Okay. That's an important change. Otherwise, that wouldn't have worked. It would have thrown a null pointer exception. Okay, cool. So that's all I needed to do in the adapter for now. And we can move on to something else. Teyahan says it's a low-high language. Yeah, no kidding. I sure miss Kotlin right now. Yeah, Naeem had it correct. Naeem asks, can I please explain shortly how instead of enum using a dynamic approach? I haven't written the code, so I can't give you a hyper specific answer. But in a general sense, what I would do is I would still have to have this enum to represent different kinds of views. But instead of creating 6 different layouts, or 7 at this point, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Instead of creating all of those, what I would actually do is I would use the layout inflator, which we get a hold of in onCreateViewHolder. And I would basically, from this layout inflator, instead of just inflating a view, I would programmatically inflate it. I would sort of dynamically build it based on whatever I needed. So the thing about that approach is that it's more efficient, but it's also more complicated because I need to code the logic, obviously, to essentially represent what we're doing with the XML. I would need to be capable of rendering each of these different things as I want. So effectively, that's how I would do it. I don't have a ton of experience in basically programmatically generating and inflating views. I typically do a lot more work on back-end type stuff. So I could do it, but because I don't have the past experience of doing that, and because I kind of knew that the code would be pretty ugly to write no matter what, that's why I chose to do to work with the layouts instead. But like I said before, if I could do it all again, I would actually just take the time to figure out how to dynamically generate it. But yeah, in a nutshell, you're going to use the inflator. You'll be manually inflating and styling, and you'll have to have the dimensions set up and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so this is fine. Now we're going to move into the DayListItemViewMaker class. And like I said before, so what'll happen is either the view or the logic class, probably the logic class. Yeah, I think I can get the logic class to use it. Is going to call this method get item list, and it's going to supply the context and then also the data. I'll probably have to supply the I will have to supply the context through the view. Anyways, then we're going to iterate through and build out these things dynamically. We'll get our resource IDs, we'll get our the colors, all that kind of stuff. And the end result is we end up just passing this data into our adapter, and then the adapter just grabs the data and binds it and keeps it simple. Isn't it cleaner to use a factory for this? I think you're talking about the dynamic view generation, and yes, it would absolutely be better to use a factory if you're talking about the logic required to generate the dynamic views. I was giving like a high level explanation, like an overview of how I would do it, but yeah, I would not want all that logic to be inside of the adapter itself. This is effectively what I'm doing here. It's basically like a factory, depending on how you define that thing. I don't get too bent out of shape about the words. So yeah, I got started writing this thing, and then that's what we're going to work on now, after I run a quick commercial break. Okay. So, when I'm building, so basically what we're doing here is we're building algorithms. So when I build algorithms, I have a process I use. So I start by explaining in simple language what this thing is supposed to do, what the algorithm or part of the algorithm is supposed to do. Relative to the number of active quarter hours, I'll just show you what that means. Let's go to list hour view. Okay, so just so everyone's on the same page here, just so the whole class can follow along. So this is manage hour. This thing will look a lot prettier when it has some colors to it, but basically the user can toggle the, this will say 12:15, this will say 12:30, this will say 12:45. They're quarter hours, obviously. And the user will be able to toggle these things either to an active or inactive state. So since I make it so that the top task is always active, the user can't toggle that one. But to give you an idea of what we're doing here, because we have this top quarter hour is active and these ones are all inactive, for example, this would result in a full hour view. That's effectively what this would look like. If hypothetically I set this one to active, we would have the half. We would have this view. So hopefully people kind of understand where where that's coming from. So relative to what I'm getting at here, relative to the number of active quarter hours, so depending on what that configuration is, and their position, determine the appropriate list item type for this hour. And that's our goal. Also, I made a note here. This algorithm assumes that we never have a situation where only one quarter hour is in an active state, but that particular quarter hour is not the first one. I'll just really quickly explain where that's coming from. Excuse me. So I didn't want a situation where this top task was inactive and then this one, say for example down here, was active, because that would have just been really annoying. I'm not going to explain why, but if you think about it long enough, you'll see that it would have been complicated. So I'm just making that note there. We have an invariant. We typically call that when we're talking about algorithms. Only one active task means the whole hour is. For that task, I don't think I finished that. Two active tasks can mean half and half, or quarter, 3, quarter. Now, in case you're thinking I'm doing this entirely for your sake, this is my actual process for writing these kinds of algorithms. Is first I explain them in a simple sentence in pretty much plain English. Then I write a more itemized series in almost like pseudocode. And then I get to actually coding the thing itself. And you'll find that it can seem like extra work, but you're actually solving the problem faster typically, because you're able to solve the problem without thinking about the implementation details. Then when you get to the implementation details, the problem is already solved. So then you're only worrying about how to actually implement it in code. Okay. 3 active tasks can be half, quarter, quarter. Can be, let's make this a little bit cleaner. All right, that looks a little bit better. This will be quarter, half, quarter. This will be quarter, quarter, half. And there should be 7 of them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think I missed. Oh, right. And then we've got the 4 quarters. Four active tasks is all quarters. Let's just do some plain English here. Cool. All right, so this is what we've got to work with. And so let's get started. So we get our quarters, and then we've got these different cases that we need to select for. So what I'm going to do is the logic for these different things is going to get gradually more complex. But what I can do for the first situation is let's take these two things that are invariant, essentially. If only one task is active, then we need to render the a full hour. Versus if all tasks are active, we know that we need our quarters. So we're going to eliminate these ones in our algorithm first. So we get our quarters, and first we're going to start with, and by the way, this is all live, so I might make mistakes or I might do things inefficiently. So just understand this is what live coding looks like. Not a lot of people do this kind of thing. Luckily, this problem isn't that complicated, though. So for our first thing, we're going to look at when only one is active. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, we're going to make an int active tasks, and we'll initialize it to 0. And then we'll say first for quarter hour queue in quarters. So this is an enhanced for loop, in case anyone's kind of wondering. If q dot is active, then we'll say active tasks plus plus. And then what we'll do is after that loop iterates, we'll do single hour case, and then we'll say if active tasks equals 1, then we can immediately return our list item type, full hour. And then we're good. And then we can say else if active tasks. I don't even need the else here because we have a return statement. So we're just going to say if active tasks equals 4, return quarter. Okay, so we've got our 2 situations handled already. And hey, what's up, Mr. Growhick? Someone's asking, can I do... the message was retracted. Okay, so we've got these 2 situations handled, and now we need to worry about the stuff that's more complicated here. So when we have 2 active tasks, or we have 3 active tasks. So we're going to use some conditional logic here. So if active tasks equals 3, then we're going to have to do something else. I don't normally like using tons of if statements here, but really what we're doing is this is just how we got to solve this problem. Okay, so we need to select for quarter, half, quarter, half, quarter, and then we need to select for quarter, half. Okay, so how are we going to do this? So now we need to be worried about the actual position of the active quarter hours. So how can we figure this out? So I need to translate these. This needs to get translated into something I can work with. So quarter, half, quarter. This would mean that first is active, that's actually always true. Second is active. Third is inactive. And the reason why is that the half takes up 2 tasks. And then the fourth is active. Again, we're using basic English before or whatever language you happen to use. We're using that before we write the code. Again, so for half, the second will be inactive. Third will be active. Fourth will be, I forgot to write that, active. And then we have, of course, first, copy this. So quarter, half. Yep, that makes sense. So the last one is inactive. So third is active. Fourth is inactive. Okay, so that should, I think that's correct. Let me just look at this again. So that's correct. That looks correct. And then the last one, active, inactive. Okay, that should be correct. Now we have to actually check that. So we're going to say, now we got to write the implementation. Okay, so what we're going to do, how can I do this elegantly is the problem. It's not that complicated of a thing to write, but I don't just want to solve this problem by slapping in a bunch of if statements, which that might end up being how I do it. But let me just think for a moment, or if you're in the chat and you're wondering, or you have a good idea about how to handle this logic intelligently. I guess I just represent each of these with a Boolean, and then I select for each statement. I think that's how I'm going to do this for now. Again, if you have a better idea, let me know in the comments. We're going to have Boolean first, second, third, fourth. These will all represent positions. And we're going to then have a loop. We'll say for, I think we'll just reuse this one. For, yeah, we'll reuse that. Do I need an index, I think, actually. Do I need an index? Yes. You can't get a hold of the index in here, can you? I don't remember now. Can you access the index in a enhanced for loop? Someone says use when syntax. I sure wish this was Kotlin. Okay. Index in enhanced for loop. Can you do that, or do I just have to do it manually? Oh, lame. Okay. All right, well, I might as well just use the friggin' normal for loop then. So we'll say index equals 0 while index is less than quarters dot length index, oops, wrong one. I can't type. Index plus plus, and then we need our conditional logic. So we're gonna say first, okay, if index equals 0, then we'll do first equals quarters index dot get is active. Okay, well, I think we'll do that. Third, fourth, and yeah, so I think that'll do it. So we record what these values are, and then we will select for them based on what we've written here. I think the most elegant way for me to do this is to just use single if statements and then have the conditional logic in the arguments of the if statement. So this would be if first equals true. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. In the comments, if I do anything stupid, let me know. Second, oh no, that should be and. Second equals true, and third equals false, and fourth equals true. Then because we're about to hit the end of the line, I'll just add that in. It doesn't like that. Did I do this wrong? I guess I have to initialize them all to 0, otherwise it'll complain. 0. What am I thinking? What the hell? Why would it be complaining that it might not have been initialized? Man, I hate Java. I love this language, but seriously, fuck Java. This is like the worst syntax ever. What is the point of being able to declare multiple variables on one line if... Oh, I don't even... I like literally can't even... Oh, I'm an idiot. Right. I can just do that. Fair enough. It actually did something useful. That is true. I don't need to add those equal statements. So good call, lint. You win. That actually looks pretty sweet. I'm not going to complain about that. Okay, and now we can say return quarter, half quarter. Cool. All right. That was fun. Okay, so here we've got active, inactive. So I need not. I need not. Yeah. Is that correct? Not on the third one. If we're doing it this way, yeah, that should work. Okay, and then we do... I gotta make sure I don't screw this up. That one, and then the last one. Okay. So oh, we gotta fix these two. So this is half, quarter, 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 half. Okay. That looks pretty good, I think. Yep, Nalim, you got it. Why loop initialize them directly? All right, so I'm just addressing a viewer comment here. Why loop? Because it's convenient? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Do you mean like hard code them? Is that any more efficient? I'm not sure if it is. I guess you're saying... yeah, I guess that's more efficient. Good call. That was Naeem. Yeah, we can do that. So, because it's effectively the same thing. I've been doing a lot of low-level programming lately, so my mind is pretty much wrapped up in that kind of thing, but I think you're right. We can do that, and that just gets rid of that loop entirely. Good call. Yeah, that's totally cool. All right. What are we doing now? So, this is one of these things where, if we don't actually manage to pick one of these things and this thing actually reaches that null statement, I'm basically screwed. So because this part of the application is very, it's as close to pure functions as Java can go, which is basically using static methods, I don't really... If a null pops up here, then we're having a bad day to begin with. I've made some serious logical errors, so I'm not super concerned about potentially the null pointer exception that could pop up there. Majid asks, by low-level assembly, by low-level do I mean assembly? Oops. I actually built a computer in Minecraft, so I wrote assembly by physically constructing something in Minecraft. But yes, I haven't written a lot of code in assembly language, but I have basically built a programmable computer with instruction memory and so forth. And then somebody says, why am I not using Kotlin? So there's a long-winded answer to that. If, in case you're wondering, I still totally prefer Kotlin over Java, but for various reasons, I was forced to work in Java for about a year. And so basically, when I wanted to build this application, part of the purpose of this application is I'll be making some tutorials out of it. And I want to do both Java and Kotlin tutorials. But I was just totally out of practice using Kotlin. And I wanted to learn the Java executors framework. So that's why I decided to use that instead. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And hopefully now that I've got that basic logic figured out, the rest of it should be easier. So get task names is quite simple, I believe. I think I let the user just decide whatever task names they want. Let me just double check on that. I think it's just a plain string. Yeah, it's just task name. So this part of the algorithm will be easy. Relative to, or we'll just say assign task names to each quarter hour. Is that correct? Okay, I have a collection of task names, right? Yes. Okay. So yeah, we're just going to be mapping to this array of task names, and that's all we have to do there. So that's pretty damn simple. So I'm not even really going to do the work of explaining the algorithm because this one is trivially simple. So we're going to say, what does hour have? Is that a collection as well, or? So for each quarter hour, we have a task ID, and that maps to a particular task, which is just a string. And so we'll have a collection. Okay, this is where it gets interesting, actually. This might be slightly more complicated than I mentioned before. Get task names. No, it might actually be pretty simple. Okay, so we're going to just say string array task names equals new string array of size 4, and we'll say I guess we could hard code it again. Task names 0 equals hour dot get quarters 0 dot get. Okay, so I do need to retrieve the task ID. I need to retrieve the name from task. So what we're going to do is this thing will require our tasks object. So let's just add that in there. That's okay, we can add that in. Okay, and then we say, so we're gonna have to do this slightly differently. Int okay, now I'm gonna use a loop. Now I think a loop would be better. Int okay, just give me a minute here. I gotta think this through. Int index equals 0 while index is less than 4 index plus plus. And so we're going to say int task ID equals this thing. Okay. And then we say task names index equals oh, I got to think about this now. I need to select for the appropriate task name from tasks. So tasks dot. Oh, I already have a convenience method. Wow. Get task by ID, task ID. Dot get name. Oh, wow. I'm pretty good at this programming thing. All right. Hey, what's up? Asnep and Max Shiguru. Oh, wow. Majid says he was working on a Sega Genesis VDP on FGPA High 5. I don't know what any of those mean in particular, but I do know that working on a Sega Genesis would be some low-level shit, so good on you. Okay, I think that's all I need to do. Okay, let me just double check. We create an array of size 4, and for each quarter in sequence, we grab the task ID. From that, we retrieve the appropriate task name, and then we return task names. I think that's correct. Oh, yeah, we don't need new there. Okay, and that should satisfy that one. Now we have get background resource IDs. So this one will require context for sure. And same with this one. This is where we get into that Android stuff. Hour block text, yeah, we'll worry about that later. A little while ago, someone was asking me about whether I have studied functional programming much. This might be a slightly interesting aside for people watching. I did spend a couple months studying functional programming. I wrote like a couple lines in Haskell, and I studied monads and crap like that. One of the interesting results of me studying functional programming for a little while is that it really influenced me in how I use Java. So notice how I'm using a static function or method, and I'm really breaking this thing down into smaller and smaller functions. And this is effectively the closest thing you can get to functional programming in Java is using static functions, because they only work on the variables that were passed in. So they basically, depending on how strictly you want to define that, we're not dealing with side effects. There's no, what's the thing they use? We're only ever creating data from data which was passed in, effectively. Now, functional programming has its limitations on maintaining functional purity, because you can't actually really build a there's assignment statements. Functional programming, you're not allowed to use assignment statements. you have to use like this thing called the IO monad, whatever, don't ask, jargon. And but what I'm trying to say here is that functional programming made me a better programmer in an object-oriented programming language like Java. Anyways, carrying on. All right, so let's work on getting the background resource IDs. So that's the background colors for these different things. And again, I have a handy dandy enum to represent that called color. And these are the different colors that I selected for. And that also is reflected in colors.xml. So this is what we're going to be mapping to. Now, like I said before, the problem with working with IDs in Android is that they're dynamically generated, the resource IDs. So that's why we need to do this thing where we're dealing with context and so forth. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say for each... I think I'll need tasks as well. Yeah. This will need tasks. For each task in an hour, retrieve the appropriate resource ID based on the enum color. I don't know why I capitalized enum and didn't capitalize color. So this is what we're going to do here. And okay, for each task in an hour, retrieve the appropriate resource ID based on the enum. All right. And then we're building a integer array of those resource IDs. So we'll start with that. And that'll be of size 4 again. And let's see. Thinking. Okay, I think we're going to need a loop. Let's just start writing some code here. Well, index is less than 4. Index plus plus. Okay, and then we're going to say, we're going to have to, I think, loop through the quarter hours. So we'll say, quarter hour QH equals hour dot get quarters index. We get the... I think I really just need the task ID actually. So it's going to be, I think, the same thing as here pretty much. Okay, so we get the task ID, and then we say, I just realized this could complicate things down the road with the rest of the application, but whatever, I won't worry about that right now. The ordering of these things is going to become important, but that's okay. Okay, so we're going to do... I can't do it this way. Okay. Okay, I just realized something. So in the adapter... the way that I assign the data to the views is that I use array indexes. So I am assuming that these array indexes will only ever progress in a logical manner. I gotta code this thing out. Did I already write that? So what I just realized, I could have a situation where if I'm assigning these values relative to the position in the quarters, if I could skip over, I hope you understand what I'm getting at here. I could skip over array index 2 in a 3-task layout. I could skip over 2 and assign it to 3, and then in this code, when I try to retrieve the resource ID, it would throw a null pointer exception. So I can't actually, it has to respect the position of the items. Let me just think about this momentarily. This would be a big problem potentially. Okay, the best thing to do is to, if I can explain the problem in simple English for both our sakes, then we can think of a good solution. So, suppose we have this combination. So these are going to be array indexes. Suppose we have 1 active, 2 inactive, 3 active. So if I just loop through this thing without paying attention to that, I would have a situation. Is this actually an issue? Just give me a minute here. I got to really think about this. This is live coding. Yes, this is a problem. Okay. Let's say I have, let's do half, quarter. Okay, we're about to, or no, let's use, what would this one be? This would be quarter, half, quarter. We'll do that. And I'll try and illustrate to you what the hell I'm talking about. Quarter, half, quarter. Okay, so I've got this layout, and we're trying to generate this thing based on this layout. So when we're assigning the data, when we're binding to this view, our index only goes up to 2. It doesn't go up to 3 because there's only 3 tasks. So the implementation I have here would assign the color of the 3rd task to index number 4, which would never show up here. And it would also potentially color the inactive just take my word for it. I think it'll cause problems. Okay. So, how can I solve this problem? So, okay, I think what we have to do, I'm just going to try and figure this out. We're going to switch to a index that is external from the loop. We're going to change this to an enhanced loop for quarter hour. We'll call that QH in, I don't need in, hour.getQuarters. Okay. And we're going to say if QH dot is active. If QH is active, then we assign it. Okay. So that'll get initialized to 0. We get the task ID. We say res IDs index equals so not get task name, get task color, which is the background, but I still need to translate this from, okay, I need a helper method. Get resource, which is going to accept a context and it's going to accept an enum, right? That's what that will give me. Let's create that. And we'll say I'll need a switch statement for task color. And we'll say case. And then I got to build out all these things. This will take a minute. So color, what colors do we have here? I'm just going to open that on the side. And where did I go? Thank you, Android Studio, for losing my place. Okay, so these are the different cases. So we'll say dark blue. And then we'll do break. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say if it's dark blue, then we return context dot get color. I don't think that's right. Get resources. I'll have to zoom out a little. Sorry about that. Get resources dot get is it get drawable, I think? It's actually been a while since I've written this code. Get resources dot get drawable, and then can we just supply? No, it's not get drawable. What is it? I need to refer to the resource by name. I forget how to do that off the top of my head, so I'm just going to Google that really quickly. Oh, I can do that. Cool. So I think I can just say r.id.darkblue, right? I don't know why I called it IMB. Did I actually call it that? No. Okay, so that's not it. Oh, good old Android Studio. There we go. So that's not it. Okay, get identifier. Okay, I think that's what it is. Get drawable, and then do I give that to get identifier? It's been a while since I've written this code. Okay, so let me just check the documentation and make sure that get identifier returns what I want. Okay, get identifier. Okay, so it returns the resource ID for the given resource name. So that should be what I'm looking for. Okay, good. That's optional and that's optional. I'll see if I can... Okay, so we're going to say, I know the name of the resource. It's r.color.dark blue, I believe. Let me just double check. Okay, so that should be the name. I bloody hope so. Or will that just be in... What will the actual name be? Zdarova, bratan. What's up, Vlad? Okay, let's think about this. Color resource IDs. If in case you're wondering why I'm so confused right now, there are certain minute things that my brain just doesn't retain very well, including how to refer to a color resource using its name identifier, and I just want to make sure that I'm writing this correctly before I start copy pasting. Color resource, Android. I feel like that's not correct. Okay, maybe someone in the chat can remind me. Is it r.drawable or what the hell is it? r. Color resource name Android. As usual, I'm searching this thing and it's okay, it might actually just be r.id. Okay, is that it? r.id? The problem is that it's because it's a hard-coded string. I can't verify it using the Android Studio. Oh, I'm getting very conflicting ideas here. Isn't this hilarious? Like, I've spent the morning like writing some not very complicated algorithms, but like doing some algorithmic thinking and stuff like that. And this is Android in a nutshell. I can't proceed at the moment. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. But I can't proceed at the moment because I don't know how to refer to a color by... I don't know how to get the dynamically generated ID of this color resource because I don't know exactly how to write the hard-coded resource name. That's Android in a nutshell. Like, this isn't even that complicated stuff. It's just I don't know what to do. All right. I feel like I did this in a different application, so I'm just going to look up some source code from my own stuff. I feel like I did this in Space Notes. Just give me a moment. We'll figure this out eventually. Okay, did I solve this problem in Space Notes? Okay, not there. No, list would have it. Build logic. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, so that's for getting an image resource. Here we have some Kotlin. Oh man, it's so beautiful in comparison. Okay, so what was the actual thing I was looking for? Okay, I don't have get identifier there. I guess it would be in the... Let's see here. Okay, here we go. All right, we're making progress. So get identifier, this is the thing I'm friggin' looking for. Okay, why? I don't know why I couldn't find this on the internet. I had to go to my own code. Okay, so we're gonna say color. And then context.get package name. And I don't think we do that. Let's just double check. Where did that thing go? Okay, so I just need to figure out where that image URL came from. URL. So that probably came from... I still need to know what that hard-coded string looks like in case you're wondering what the hell I'm doing. Nope. Did I have it in some kind of resources maybe? Res, okay. I know I defined these somewhere. I think the problem is that I made drawables for this, I think. Yeah, okay. So I think what I can do... I think I have to make drawables for the colors, because I... Can you refer to things that are defined within colors XML as drawables? I don't think you can. What a hassle. Oh, I think I get it. Okay, so in here, I would just say dark blue probably. Okay, get identifier with color resource. Okay, I think I finally have it set up properly here. I'll have to verify that, but it's good enough. We can move on. Okay, so I may have to fix this later, but so far as I can tell, this is a way that we can get a hold of the resource ID based on having a specific name. Excuse me. Okay. Whatever, that might not work, but it's very close to something that works at least, and I can fix it later. I won't need a break case because we're using return. And now is the time for our copy paste. I don't remember how many colors I have. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. All right, and I gotta open that on the side here. So colors, enum. Split vertically. Dark red. All right, we're back to making progress. I'm sure most of you are wondering, what the hell is mauve? Is that a color? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. All right, and then I'll have to do the resource names. Dark blue. Let's just copy paste them. Green. Red. Lime. Light blue. Mauve. Brown. Huh, that's a bit weird. Why does that say gray and this says brown? Did I screw something up here? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have an extra entry, so we're not actually going to use... oh dear. I've managed to confuse things even further. Okay, so my enum has light blue, followed by mauve, and then gray. I think the enum itself is wrong, not the colors that I have here. So let's fix the enum. So we go mauve. I don't have gray at all in here. So we'll get rid of gray. Let me just make sure I'm doing this properly. Okay, dark blue, burnt orange, green, red, lime, light blue, mauve, brown, and then teal. Okay, that looks a little bit better. And then this becomes brown, and this becomes teal. Okay, and then brown, teal. Perfect. Okay, good. Getting her done. Okay, so now we're going to I think that's basically done. Again, this might be slightly misconfigured, but I can deal with that. All right, so we're now returning our resource. So we add that to our list of res IDs here relative to the index. Now, the key thing I was talking about earlier is that I can't just assign them 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not going to work. I may only assign and increment them when a task is active. So that would be this case here. So if this task is active, we get the task ID, we get the resource, we add it to the thing, and then we increment the index. All right, sorry, index plus plus. And if I'm correct, then that will maintain the consistency I was looking for in the adapter, in this case here. So hopefully that makes sense. And let's move on. So get background resource IDs. And let's actually return the thing we want to return. That would help. And yeah, we're good to go for that one as far as I can tell. It's going to be a very similar situation for get icon res IDs. So we'll start coding that one up. I'm actually just going to copy and paste that stuff in there because why not? This one, do we need that? Yes, we will need tasks again. Okay, cool. All right, and so this time we're going to select for the icons. So we're going to say get task icon. And now we're going to call, we're going to say, we're going to change this one. This will become get background image resource. And I'm actually going to copy and paste it. And this one will be get icon resource. And it'll work on our icon enum. And here we're gonna, let's do, so what icons do I have? Okay. So we've got free time. Oh, there's a few of them. Break. Study. I might change these down the road as well. Work. All the fun stuff. Exercise. I wrote mediate instead of meditate. What a friggin' goof. Meditate. Eat. Rest. Shop. And we'll create one more for hobbies. Cool. That sounds like a busy day in my opinion. And then I'll need to... Okay, so now we're going to be referring to specific drawables in this case. So this should actually be easier. So I think we can just use get drawable, I'm pretty sure. I might have to still actually use that thing, I think. We can do drawable. And then the name. I haven't actually downloaded all the image resources, so I don't think I can actually proceed here until I do that. And so I'll probably call it a day pretty quick, because I don't think y'all want to see me downloading a bunch of icons. That wouldn't be very exciting. But it's eventually going to refer to these things here. This one, I'm going to hit Shift F6, Control C, cancel. And then what would happen is this the correct thing? Nope. What would happen is, for example, for break time, we would type in that resource name, and then that would get us the icon we want. But I need to download all those icons, so I am going to say thank you for watching, and I'll probably do a little bit more work off camera, but we're getting closer and closer to a functioning beta version of this application. And of course, I'm only able to work on this every couple of a couple hours per week, so it's moving slowly, but we will get there. So I think that is everything, and I will say to you, до свидания, друзья. Thank you for watching, and peace out.